Could you let the audience know what does Totality do?
Sure. So Totality is a consumer interactive media company. We have always aimed to create new network effects with bringing in new sorts of media interactions. So we have built a gaming platform. We have built a social networking app called Yovo, which was actually interactive short videos. We built a metaverse called Designverse based on Indian mythology. And our latest AI-first product is called Never, which is actually to give every consumer the ability to create whatever synthetic media that they want to create, and really towards the aim of giving everyone infinite creativity with almost zero labor. That's really what we are working on today.
Fantastic. So, Anshul, why is AI important for you, and how do you think about the usage of AI?
Sure. So, like I said, the first sort of tech revolution, if I look at a 30,000 feet view, was all about information. Right? And what it really enabled us to do is actually give us information instantaneously at almost zero cost. And everything we have done in this internet digital first era is actually on the back of that. What AI is now actually bringing is doing the same thing in the knowledge sphere, right? So we are actually removing all knowledge barriers and enabling everyone to have access to all sorts of knowledge with almost instantaneous obtaining of that knowledge and almost zero cost, and the cost will obviously keep decreasing. So I think what we are really now aiming to do is with our Never app is something similar. You don't really have to be a great photographer or have great backgrounds or have great sort of cameras and DSLR cameras or equipments to actually click great photography. If I want to change this background to a Jurassic Park or to a mythical world or to a future first sort of world, I'm able to do that. I'm not a great photographer, but with AI and removing this knowledge barrier, I'm able to do that with the AI applications itself. And the same thing will actually apply to all fields.
Great. So, what are the key considerations you have in mind before deploying an AI model into production?
Sure. So from a user perspective, I think there are three things. There is convenience, there is cost, and there is privacy. So obviously with the internet revolution, people have really gotten used to having everything at their fingertips, not having to wait. They are also used to getting a lot of information free, a lot of access free, and obviously they also want to have privacy and control over their data, right? So I don't think the users will actually compromise on any of these three things. With AI, because we have to actually train models with your own data, if I have to have photographs with me inside them, obviously I have to train your AI model on your photographs. That takes time. Obviously, GPUs are expensive right now, even though the cost is decreasing. It has decreased significantly over the last couple of years. They're still a lot more expensive than what users are used to. And obviously, because AI models use your data, there is a idea of how can we actually keep the data to be very private. So I think we have to really solve for these three factors, which is users get instantaneous results. They get it at prices which are maybe free or almost very, very low. And is a privacy first approach that the user's data is only used for their own consumption and not for anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up beautifully. Convenience, cost, and privacy. I think those three are pretty critical factors. So how is Google Cloud helping you deliver AI efficiently to your customers?
Sure. So I think for us, Google, where it really outshined was really providing us the solution, right? So they were really the solution architect for us. Like I said, we are really focused on the convenience, the cost, and privacy. So we got a lot of comfort. Google being Google, that data privacy was at the center of all the approach that they were taking. So I think that was a necessary factor for us to even start with. And then the critical factor became that we have to train each AI model, which can actually be as large as 3.5 to 5 GB per user. And how do we scale such a solution across India and US, which are the primary geographies which we are targeting for millions of users at a cost that is actually affordable for them, right? So Google Cloud really helped us in architecting this solution at scale and being able to actually provide that to our users at cost which are actually affordable for us. The other factor was that obviously even now GPUs are in very, very high demand and the supply is really limited. So that's the other area where Google really and Google Cloud really helped us, is in able to get access to these, high performance GPUs at affordable price. So I think in architecting a solution around scaled users for affordable cost, as well as as lesser time to be able to provide that service to the users, that's where Google Cloud really outshined for us.
Great, thank you. So if you have to give a tip to somebody who is looking to improve the gaming experience for their game and use AI there, what would that tip be?
Sure. So I think gaming, there'll be two areas which I can definitely see that AI will really shine. So in gaming, obviously already using machine learning, we do a lot of personalization of the different paths, the different levels that each user actually plays, but it's still in sort of cohorts and buckets, right? Because we can't truly create levels on the go. Gaming has been restricted without the advent of Gen AI. What Gen AI will actually do now is every user's experience will be truly unique to them, right? So what Anshul plays in the game could never have any overlap with what Saurabh, as an example, experiences in that game itself. Because Gen AI can actually, based on my preferences and how I'm liking the game, actually create levels on the go and procedurally to actually look at what Anshul is playing. That's one area. The other area which will be very interesting is, whether you call it friends, you call it different avatars. That will be the other area in which gaming is actually going to use generative AI a lot, right? So there are two aspects here as well. One, I can actually bring in Anshul, and Anshul can exist digitally 24/7, 365. Right? So if I have my own avatar inside the gaming world, it can actually interact with the world, and others can interact with it 24/7 without having the need for me to be online the whole time. The other aspect is that, whether you call it a digital friend or a co-pilot in the virtual world, I can actually train an AI avatar to actually interact with me the whole time, right? And it will have a lot of use cases of whether it's education, whether it's helping me play games and clear different levels, or for pure social interaction, where the AI is actually going to learn what I lack and how do I actually incorporate, or what my preferences are, and without having the dangers of a digital first social interaction, it can actually provide me a safe environment to actually interact with such avatars.
Perfect. Thank you. Always a pleasure having you, Anshul. Thank you for taking your time today.
Thank you, Saurabh. This was wonderful.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking your time for my session, getting started with vector search and embeddings. I'm Kaz, I'm a developer advocate based in Tokyo, focusing on the cloud AI products. So today I'd like to going through the labs notebook sample code, but the notebooks usually takes like over 1 hour. So I just quickly going through the most interesting part of the notebooks. And before dive into the notebook, I'd like to introduce the Google Cloud Skills notebook I'll be using here is published on GitHub, and you can just download it and use it. But it uses some of the Google Cloud resources, like Google Cloud Storage BigQuery. So it would take like a few dollars if you run it on your Google Cloud project. So rather than that, maybe it's a good chance for you to sign up with the Google Cloud Skills Boost program, where you can get the 30 days free access, so that you don't have to pay anything during the 30 days for running the notebooks, including this session, including this lab. So this is the lab we'll be using, that is published on the Skills Boost, Getting Started with Vector Search and Embeddings. In this lab, you will learn how to use Vertex AI embeddings for text and create text embeddings and use them to create a vector search index. So we'll be using two products. And I'll be discussing what is embeddings, what is vector search during this session. And this is the rough outline of what you will do in the notebook. Usually it takes over 1 hour, but the gist of the concepts are these. Creating a Vertex AI notebook instance, this is the setup of the environment and running notebooks. And then you start with the creating embeddings and create and deploy Vertex vector search index. And then you can try the query with the index. So that's the outline. So let's get started. I'll be changing my screen to the notebook. So this is the Vertex AI workbench environment loaded with the notebook, example notebook I mentioned. And you can also run this lab, this code lab also, which is the free environment. But I recommend to use the Vertex AI workbench because usually you can stay your instance running up and running, so it's much easier to going through the long lab. So as I mentioned, it takes like 1.5 hours usually. So I will be just picking up the most interesting part of the notebooks rather than going through all the details. And going through this lab, you may want to have the basic knowledge about the Python programming in which one. That's it. Actually, this lab uses the state-of-the-art the embedding model and vector search, but actually you don't have to have the cutting-edge data science knowledge to get started with this. The cost, and as I mentioned, if you're running this on the under the Skills Boost program, you don't have to pay anything. But if you want to run this notebook on your Google Cloud project, maybe it would cost like a few dollars for the cost for the BigQuery cloud storage and APIs. So let's get started with the concepts. So it's all about bringing the generative AI and large language models into the production services. So people will be now wondering how to integrate the LLM and chatbots with existing IT systems or databases. That is so-called grounding. Grounding means the connecting between the outputs from LLM with the real-world business data. And in this lab, we'll be using the embeddings and vector search for building a grounding solution. So before diving into the code, let me just quickly show the sample code. This demo is built with exactly the same technologies, embeddings and vector search. And this demo has the Stack Overflow dataset where you can type a query like that. For example, how to shuffle those in SQL. Then you will see the results from the 8 million pairs of the question and answers in the Stack Overflow website. like these the answers. These are the results from the semantic search or vector search by using the embeddings. So to build this kind of the semantic search, and maybe you may also extend this to the RAG, retrieval augmented generation systems. You need to understand how the embedding works, how vector search works. So that's the purpose of this RAG. So what is embeddings? So it's a very hot keyword right now, but the concept itself has been around in the data science industry for a while, right, over 10 years. But with the rise of the LLM, it becomes super easy to get started with embeddings, because before we had the LLMs, like Gemini, you had to design your own deep learning model, and you have to get the train your model to generate the embeddings by yourself based on your business requirements. But nowadays, as we have the LLM and their embeddings model, you don't have to do that. You can just pass your text or images to the API and get the embeddings. So that's the reason why the embeddings is super popular right now. The thing is that you can, replace your databases with the embeddings to provide a much better user experience to the users, rather than depending on the tabular data or databases to search or retrieval or the recommendation on the business data. You can use the embeddings to make the much sophisticated semantic search rather than the keyword search, or maybe you can make a much sophisticated recommendation with the embeddings. And embeddings, it's just like, it works like a map. It's like a map of meaning. So instead of having the longitude and latitude, it has many hundreds or almost infinite number of the dimensions that represent any content, like a meaning of the text or the images or videos. For example, if you have the text that has the content talking about the movies, music, actor, you can define a very simple embedding like this 0.0,